Townhouse Yarns studio this afternoon with Jenny of Townhouse Yarn Spain.
Hi.
And her wall of colour behind us. We are here today. I'm Lisa from This Is Knit, and we are here to chat with Zanete Knits all about the fabulously gorgeous Sea Aster Sweater that has been released today in conjunction with Townhouse Yarns and the beautiful yarn that you want to hold up. These gorgeous colours right here. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. This is the Sea Aster shade and flat white, but we are going to get more into that. I'm sorry, I'm very distracted because I've been practicing a new technique just before this live. Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful. This is an unusual time for us to be here, but we wanted to slot in with Zanete's day, and hopefully, here we are. Joining us later and catching up. It is wonderful to see you here as well. So I've just accepted Zanete's invite, I'm pretty sure, so she'll be live with us very soon.
How about now?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Great to see you, and the beautiful thing. It is so clever, so clever, and just beautiful. Yes.
Isn't so perfectly reflecting the Sea Aster? When you sent the yarn, I was like, is that even possible? How can someone dye it so like perfectly? Everything was so perfect. Yeah. Well done. And then those little speckles.
Yeah.
There, as I was knitting, I was like, oh my goodness, where's the next one gonna go? And when it hit like the middle, as it was in some of the photos, like, yes, perfect.
You weren't secretly snipping little bits of the yarn.
No, I wasn't. I think it just looks so organic and so natural, but when it like coincided with some like center of the flower, I was like, yeah, it's a sign.
Absolutely. The magic happened there. So let's take it a little bit backwards. So just in case people are joining and taking a look here and they haven't seen all the stunning pictures that we've been sharing and some of the great promo that's been going on, let's first of all introduce you, Zanete, to our followers. So you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into doing knitwear design.
Hi, I'm Zanete. My goodness, yeah, there might be people who don't know me. I am originally from Latvia, and I've been knitting all my life since I can remember myself, even before school. But I didn't know that knitting patterns existed until about 6 years ago. It's just the way we were taught, you know. My mom was a knitter, my grandma was a knitter. It was a way of life, and it was passed down just like, you know, pickling is, or keeping a tidy home. But when I went on maternity leave, I started posting some knits on Instagram, and people were asking for patterns, and I was like, "What are you talking about? What is pattern?" And then I opened a knitting a book in a knitting shop, and I saw a knitting pattern for the first time. I was like, I cannot understand a single word. What is that SSK? What is that K2 tog? What does that mean? It's gibberish. I would never be able to write that. But then the requests still kept coming, so I thought, okay, I'll next time I have something worthy of publishing, I'll give it a go. And so that's how I learned all about it with the next design, and I just fell in love, and I have been doing that ever since. So there's no stopping me now. But everything's been completely, I've rediscovered it from just by doing. So yeah, totally self-taught knitwear designer.
That's amazing. That was actually remarkable, and from having a look like through the beautiful pattern that you've created, I think what's amazing to see is that journey from not knowing that knitting patterns were a thing or existed, and the clarity with which you're able to explain the somewhat, you know, like, well, I'm not going to say challenging or advanced, but you know, unfamiliar techniques maybe to people. and that you support that with the videos and everything. So you've gone from that sort of, oh, it's just sort of something I know, to being able to really convey that to like for through. I think you've done extensive testing as well. Like you've been extremely professional about how you've approached it now. You know, so if anybody's a little concerned about the
Oh,
social
right.
media.
I think the beauty of not having any preconceptions about what a knitting pattern is, it freed me from any sort of trying to confirm. And I was really relying a lot on test knitters over the years to tell me where things need to be clearer or rewarded. And together we create stuff. And then it's a huge thanks to all the test knitters who did trust me at the start and still trust me now. So yeah. Um, without them, there wouldn't be so great. What was I going to say? But yeah, I think I'm sort of freed from the formula of maybe if that exists. I don't know. I still don't knit from patterns. I think it's a lot harder to explain how to knit than to just do it and show, which is why I'm relying a lot on the video. As English is not my first language either, so I'm like, I'm just gonna film this and then you can see what I'm doing here. Is going to be clearer than writing. But yeah, this pattern also is full of techniques that I've recently discovered over the last few years. And then every pattern I try to put in something new, like a little detail that I haven't tried, and like this little rib here, for example.
I
It's
know.
a I've never tried it before, but I really wanted to add something. And this sweater was the lucky one.
It's crazy. It's such a really nice finishing detail to, what's already a beautiful sweater. But I really, really like that change up in the from regular rib,
Absolutely. And it's subtle. I love that you kind of just have to get close and then you discover it. And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. It's like, did I see something there? Oh yeah, there is something. It's all for the purpose of stopping other knitters in their tracks.
Mhm. So with lots of people joining us, I'm seeing people from Belgium, from Boston, from I love when people call it Argentina, Buenos Aires. Yes. So just to give you all a big wave and to thank you for following on from Ecuador. Yes. So it's fantastic. So we're based in Ireland. You're actually, although you're from you said sorry,
Latvia.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was going Lithuania and then that wasn't right. But you're based in the UK now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm in the UK, so not Europe, sadly,
Oh,
but in the UK. Um, but yeah, in the UK. So we're not very far.
no,
Um,
no, it's great. You're going to have to come over and visit us.
I
Um,
would love to. You had a redecoration and not recently, right? You
Yeah.
reinvented your shop.
yeah,
Yeah.
we did. We renovated it, and this is it. And then where we are right now is the new dye studio for Townhouse Yarns, and it's a shared dye studio and warehouse space, and badly needed offices for the spreadsheet person in the family, and all of that. So yeah, we're growing the business. We're actually dyeing up plenty of yarns for new stockists as well. So we're keeping her busy. We're taking her away from the dye pots at the moment.
So I've moved from a space where I basically worked from 4, maybe 5 dye pots to now I'm
She
counting.
can't even count.
Not enough fingers.
So,
Yeah, not enough fingers.
no. So yeah, it's been great now moving to the bigger space and just having the space and the time and the help to create more beautiful things and work with designers like yourself. So that's been really good.
It really has. So we planned, or we first had a chat about this back in autumn, early autumn, late autumn, I think. And we're delighted that you work with us. And this is part of your, because you have lovely themed collections. So it's the wildflower collection. And sorry for people just joining us. This is Zanete Knits, who is a whiz, which is what we've discovered that a couple of years ago she didn't even know about what a knitting pattern was. And now look at the beautiful things that you're creating. So we started researching Irish wildflowers that might work. and the Sea Aster flower came up, and
I was kind of questioning, would a sea aster work? Like, would it?
yes,
Would it really? Because it's quite, you know,
there's a level of
there's
detail
a-
there.
yeah, it's quite detailed with all the little petals and everything like that. And I was like, really? And then you were like, yeah, no, that'll work. Perfect. Shut it down.
Yeah, I think that I wanted something different than the other patterns that I already have or other floral patterns, and I think the sea aster was, it had the kind of color that you I mean also goes with my face, and it's not yellow. So um, so yeah, I think it was something different, and because you had so much yarn base variety, and we could choose from a lots of different options. When you talked about this fingering weight base, I thought yes, in fingering weight you have a lot more freedom because the stitch gauge is tinier. So as an artist, you get more canvas, you get more space to draw more intricate things. And yeah, so this is from a photo. It's drawn onto a chart, and then that's what it looks like in two colors. I mean, we could have tried a knitting with three at the same time, but then that would be a very big challenge for many people, including myself, and not as enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think what that's the magic is how we mentioned that Jenny came up with this color, and that some of it like just lands exactly perfectly. You mentioned no yellow, but there's a tiny little hint. Let's do well, of kind of golden bronzy tones in there. You want to give a little
It's okay.
Is that okay?
But like, yeah, yeah, it's perfect. When you sent the photo of the flowers that I had recommended, like this is the inspiration,
Yeah.
and your yarn next to it, it's like, how is this even possible?
Kind of like,
Because
like I don't have anything in the range that will fit it, so I'm going to make one.
yeah,
So,
so
and
perfect.
it was first time as well, which was really surprising. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to mix, and then we're going to go this way, and then we're going to see how it turns out. And then when it was dry, and I was like, that's kind of perfect. So yeah.
Because I would imagine that dyeing is like this. Okay, it's scientific, but you cannot tell what it's going to be like way after it's all dyed and dry and everything. And you just get this, I don't know, powder or some natural things that is totally different color than what comes out, isn't it? I mean, I don't know anything about yarn dyeing. I imagine it's very hard.
Like a lot of it is, for me anyway, I'm less scientific about it. I suppose from using all these different dyes, I kind of know now after 10 years that, like, a little bit of that and a little bit of that will give me kind of that way, a little, so it's a matter of, I will give this a try. And
Yeah,
then, like, everything looks probably about 2 shades darker in the pot
yeah,
than what you're going to end up with at the end of the day. But so there's a lot of just giving it a go and seeing what you can come up with, and then tweaking from there. But no, I was really pleased that it happened the first time. Doesn't always happen first time, but
yeah.
really pleased.
And I also love the combination on this flat white. For me personally, it's not so super strong contrast. But it's in the right family of colors that are just excellent. And it was such a joy to work on this project. I think I got through the yoke in like a week and a half because I couldn't put it down. Just waiting for that next bronzy, rusty spark.
the little pop on the needles is perfect.
And the flat white
Yeah.
does have like micro speckles. Like, so it's not an overly speckled, it's just every once in a while you go, oh, there's one.
Yeah.
It's there. Yes, you look at somewhere in the mix. I see. Yeah. So you mentioned obviously working on the 4-ply gauge. I suppose the analogy is you've got more pixels to work with, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
But with a kind of irregular design like this, I believe like it's you've used this before in other designs, the ladder back jacquard technique, which was a new one.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to tell people a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think my color work story is really funny. I come from a country that's rich with color work tradition, like the Latvian mittens, and we also had to do that at school. I had to learn. It was a project, and we had to do the traditional mitten. And but the problem with that was that the gauge is super tiny. It's like at least 40, 42 stitches in 10 centimeters, and so you work with size zero needles, and for some reason I wanted to work with three colors, and that project just traumatized me, and I'd never wanted to see color work ever again until 2020 when I was rediscovering the knitting world and YouTube videos and then Instagram photos of beautiful color work. And I thought, I'm an adult now. I can face my fears head on and figure out what went wrong. And I tried on a practice sweater. I never finished it because I thought I had enough practice. Now I can do the real thing. And I just fell in love. I felt like a painter. And I found a way that works for me to get good tension. And it sort of kicked something off and I haven't stopped. But while I was learning this, and this is quite recent, like the last 4 years, I came across all these little tricks and tips that were always these aha moments, and ladderback jacquard is one of those. Just massive, massive aha or mind-blowing, simple concept based on double knitting that originated in machine knitting world to catch these long floats. But it creates the most seamless sort of effect on the public side because you don't interrupt the fabric, the long sections. So here, for example, you can see it's a very, very long section in one color.
Yeah.
And somewhere else you have the purple. So if I was to trap the float, if I wasn't going to trap the float, I'd have all my rings and nose rings stuck in there and I couldn't wear it. But if I trap the float the traditional way, people who are seasoned colorwork knitters will know that it pokes through, especially if you trap it in the same spot. So it can destroy the neatness and the nice look. So that's where ladderback jacquard comes in, and it's a method where you create purposefully extra stitches that are just visible on the wrong side, and they create these ladders that maybe they look a bit wonky, but who cares? They're just on the inside. But they're there to just support these floats, and every once in a while I catch it. And it doesn't come up here on the public side because just how double knitting creates two layers of fabric when you slip with yarn in front. The same ladderback jacquard just stays hidden there, and it's quite simple, but the effect is so wonderful. So the pattern contains not only the description of this technique and step-by-step instruction, but also videos. And I think where my patterns stand out, and this is a testament to all the test knitters who made these suggestions, they have charts with so this is, let's say this is one repeat that repeats many times around the yoke. You have a chart that also has these ladderback jacquard stitch placements suggested if this is your first time trying and you're not quite sure where and how they should be. So then you have a chart that you can go by. It's a suggestion. You can veer off it if you're a very experienced ladderback jacquard person, because, you know, sometimes you can't chart the world perfectly in two-dimensional space. So yeah, I will admit it's not perfectly optimal everywhere, but it's a great start. And you also have charts on a dark background if you wanted the darker main color and light flowers. So you don't have to invert the things in your head while you're working, especially because it's super.
Because you're looking at the light and dark.
So many.
Yeah.
This is very symmetrical, and you see there's a lot going on, and it's quite a large repeat, so it's not very easy to memorize it. But so I've tried to help as much as I can with the charts there. So there's 4 charts.
Yeah, and you absolutely have, like, it's really comprehensively done. So anybody who's purchasing the pattern directly from you at the moment, they're going to get that the digital file if they were coming to This Is Knit to get their kit, their 10 House Yarns kit, we have 5 different colorways, and we print the pattern for you, and it all comes in the box so that you have in full color. So you have everything you need to get started. Obviously,
all you need is your needles.
You need needles and Jeanette's really helpful video tutorial. Because just to reassure people, okay, I'm an experienced knitter, but I have never done ladderback jacquard. And you know, I taken a passing glance through the tutorial that you shared on Instagram the other day, and I was like, that's really clear, but I don't have needles in my hands right now, and I'm going to come back and give it a go. And then I panicked about 30 minutes before the live, going, I haven't tried it yet. And it's needles. It's done there. There's my needle back, and so clear. Really, a lot less scary than, you know, you hear the name of a new technique, and you go, no, not too sure. And but between your video tutorials and the really comprehensive and very clear charts, I think no bother on you. If you're ready to try something different, because we're always learning something new in knitting, then I think you know, you cannot go far wrong. You'll be really well supported by this design. I want to do a call out for the lady who's left a comment in Spanish, because she said, I can't speak English, but I really love those colors. So I'm just going to translate to that. So now we may have missed some questions here along the way. If anybody wants to pop them back in, because we've been chatting away rather than us kind of staring deeply at the screen. If there's something that you want to ask anybody that's on the live, then let us know.
I do have a quick question.
You've got a quick question. Go ahead.
I've got a quick question. Just with the ladderback jacquard technique, does that use a lot more yarn to use that technique, do you find?
I think theoretically it does, but I think the amount is negligible. Well, you can imagine that if you trap the float, traditionally you would have a straight line. The float pretty much goes in a straight line, whereas if you trap it using ladderback, it will go bloop and then back. So that little blip every 10 stitches or so, it will add a little bit more, but I wouldn't go as far as to like buy necessarily an extra skein unless you're, I mean, in my pattern, I already include around 10% yardage buffer for swatching and everything. But if you are playing yarn chicken, then maybe it's not a technique to splurge on if you're really careful. But because yes, there is the theory. So it all depends, of course. You can try and count the blips you get in the pattern repeat and see how much more it would take. But I think it's like few meters.
And you've made that allowance, obviously, in the design for yours. But so I suppose if somebody was taking another colorwork design and deciding to introduce that technique, then they might, you know, have to be more considerate of that.
Allow about 10%, do you think?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say that it takes 10% more. What I said, 10% I add to my patterns in general to account for swatching and any other, because I mean I like my sweaters quite short these days. I don't know, it's my fashion right now. But generally people tend to, it's a top down, so you can go as long as you want. Make a dress as well. So obviously the stated yardage is there to inform what it would take to make this the design as per the schematic. And of course, if you want to make it longer, you might need more yarn. But I wouldn't say that the ladderback jacquard would warrant 10% more than is already listed. Yeah, it's just a little bit. It's actually a great experiment. If I had time to do a PhD in knitting, I would research.
There.
How much exactly?
And then I suppose interesting, because you mentioned styling, and you like a slightly more cropped length at the moment. I think that's probably true. Like they're really having a moment, those shorter sweaters. But in terms of ease, and you I'm sure you have a recommended level of ease in the pattern, but your own one that you're wearing there, what are we talking about? Is it a slight positive ease?
It's a slight positive ease, but what I've also done is the pattern offers a straight fit as well as shaped waist, and I've gone for the shaped waist option. I think my ease is about 10 centimeters. The pattern recommended is 10 to 15. You can go more if you like a more comfortable sweater, but I like the petite flowers, and I thought it would look nice to be quite not necessarily fitted because I'm still very comfortable in it.
Yeah.
But I did choose the uh, waist shaping option, which is part of the pattern as well. So you can add decreases here on the sides to have it quite comfortable here, and then it gives a little bit of a flattering thing. And it is quite short because I don't know, for some reason lately I've introduced quite a few high-waisted things in my wardrobe. And so the shorter sweaters work better than the longer ones. But I know in 3 years I'll probably make everything down to my hips. So I don't see how it goes.
These things, they do change. And I think you're right about the more tailored shaping. I think with those little crisp details on the cuffs, because the detail that you showed on the neckline is also mirrored in the cuffs. It's sort of, I think it makes sense. It's more coherent, I think, to have that sort of waist shaping in with those nice little crisp details, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, because you were having a look at some of the test knitting projects,
Yep.
just in terms of alternative colors, because yours are beautiful. But
There's so many nice combinations.
so
for
many
our
nice
test
combinations.
knitters.
So what we'll do is we'll show the ones that we've chosen for our kits, and
Yeah.
then maybe Jeanette might know of another color combination from the test knitting that you can call out if people want to give another shade combination a go.
Well, I actually picked 9. I'm not showing you 9, and we haven't put 9 up on the website, but I picked 9. And then I was putting up some polls on my Instagram stories to see what people preferred, but that meant I had to bring it down to 8. That was very sad. So people voted, and the favorites were, as voted for by you, that Purkra being the main color with forest as the
Ooh.
contrast. I was going to say color work.
Color work, yeah.
No speckles in these, but these are semi-solids, but they would be lovely. We went a little bit, sorry, I keep on showing you the top of my head, I apologize. We went a little bit bright with this one.
Wow,
An
nice.
arcade. Like, could you imagine doing it the other way around?
No.
It's like a highlighter yellow. It is so bright.
Yeah.
But for that as your contrast, go on.
I'll go and hand it to you.
I thought you were going to join in. We went for this one with Her Majesty as the main, and then Cove as the contrast. So that's a nice speckled version. And then the last one is Embers as the main, which is in lovely red with silk as the flowers.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Pretties. So they are all the kits and combinations we've thought were nice to put together.
But like, there's many.
This
is actually all Clarendon sock as well. So
yeah.
Wow, amazing. I guess in the test knit, I'm amazed how many people chose my success formula unintentionally. I don't enforce this to anybody, but this is how I usually go, as I pick a neutral. One of them's got to be neutral, and then the other one does all the talking. And I just look through the test knits, and it's really, everybody's really stuck to that. But you don't have to. I mean, the bolder, the better. But what's great about your kits is that there is really a lot of contrast between the two, which is very important. Otherwise, you will lose the little petal shapes, and they can get muddy and appear faded and distressed. And I mean, if that's the look that you want, then go for it. One recommendation that I could have is, because one of the test knitters did they either use the color changing yarn, or they created a fade from minis. I wasn't sure, but it looks amazing. Where they start, it's a black base, and then they start with a light pink, and then it gets slowly darker, and it's just a fade. It must be a set of minis.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
You have
Must be set of minis, because her sleeves are managed as well. Like the color matches here where you separate with the body, because you obviously need 3 different skeins here to continue. And that just looks amazing. So if you have some minis, or if you have a fade, and that's also a great direction.
Yeah, I think I saw that picture on your Ravelry listing. I think it's in there.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really nice.
Yeah, we've got some very talented test knitters amongst your community for sure.
Okay.
So
Yes.
And there was a good chunk of people using a really like a dark as your main color with the lighter, like so you can really see it in both
formats.
Formats is the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Get more coffee for you.
I call it moods. You have a dark mood and a light mood. So I've got my spring summer mood, and then the darker ones are for the darker time of the year.
You can have one for every
season.
Yes. Oh, ideas. Well, now I'm obsessed with this method and what it unlocks as well, because certainly my technique question for you was, if you're using a regular stranded or regular method of trapping floats in your color work, you might do that every kind of 5 stitches would be a good recommendation. Can you go further with ladder back jacquard, or is it roughly is it a similar distance in terms of stitches that you cover?
You still want to keep it similar. You still don't want to have the float longer than 5-6 stitches for fingering weight, because then it becomes a long float again with all the long float problems.
Yeah.
And another note of caution is that if you have tension problems in your color work, ladderback jacquard is not the silver bullet that will fix it. It's just a different method to catch the float that doesn't interrupt the sort of the other color.
Yeah.
So if you have tension issues already with normal stranded color work, ladderback jacquard could even exacerbate. It's like, oh, I forgot the word. That's the word I'm looking for. That would what would happen, because you have to be extra careful to keep the floats loose for ladderback jacquard. Because if you get them tight, it will cause puckering in the work, and it will appear wavy. And no amount of blocking could fix that. So you just have to be mindful about stretching out the stitches on your right-hand needle if you knit from right to left, before doing a ladderback jacquard catching or changing colors. So yeah, that's.
Well, I think this watch is going to be handed around the whole studio for us all to practice on now.
There's a couple of team members upstairs going, but how? So now I have a little bit of technique, but you can see that's the ladderback jacquard stitch at the top, and that gets resolved later on, but that you shouldn't be able to see any of the purple color from the front, and then you can see it is hanging out there at the back. So
kind of creates a mix. It's I've heard it called poor man's double knitting, because you get 2 layers, but the second layer is like a really poor see-through meshy one.
Still warm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's not really applicable to this particular design because we're using fingering weight yarn, but if you're using worsted weight yarn, to go all of a sudden from like really strong color work to plain stockinette, you will probably see like a 3D dent there, because it's quite a significant change in thickness, more than you would in the normal catching of floats. I guess one more important thing for anyone to know about this sweater is that if you're used to color work yoke sweaters, you probably do them in the yoke, and then when it comes to sleeve separation, it's all plain stockinette. But it's not the case for here for this sweater. The color work is a gift to you from me. You continue it longer because that's the most enjoyable part, right?
Yes.
So you get that in the body and in the sleeves. For some sizes, there's less rows. For some, there's more, because of course each size has its own yoke depth, which is also easily customizable. So for some sizes, you might not get too much to work, but just to note that it does happen after the yoke as well.
Well, I think it's just another feature of what makes a standout pattern stand out even more. So we're just absolutely thrilled with everything that's come out of this collaboration. Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are absolutely dying to cast on. But do you want to, just before we let you go, maybe let people know where they can find you around the internet, and what else you have coming up over the next little while?
All right, yeah, I am Zanete Knits. Jeanette is a French name with a Latvian spelling. We have a Z with a tick on top in our alphabet that is not in the English alphabet, so I have to stick with Z. And it's okay, you can call me Zanete or Jeanette, but Zanete Knits with a Z, you can probably see. And my patterns are on Ravelry. I am always on Instagram, even on TikTok. And I have also my own website if you, for any reason, can't use Ravelry or pay with PayPal. And I've also got a YouTube channel where I put all the demos and instructional videos and other fun bits. And I've got so many patterns planned, I can't even remember all of them, but I mean, I think we have one more coming out in February, which will be a cable knit, a little bit different from the color work that's been happening. And then next month, there will be 2 or 3 patterns releasing as I enter my 100th published design. It's a big milestone that we'll be celebrating. So yeah, I guess if you subscribe to my newsletter, then you'll hear all about it. And I'm also going to be teaching some workshops in Vogue knitting and in some of the festivals around UK. So yeah, I hope if you see me, don't hesitate to stop me and say hi, and we can chat about all things knitting and colorwork knitting and ladderback jacquard and yeah.
So much to learn, and I think from the evidence from your videos, you're a wonderful teacher. So if anybody has a chance to go and take a class with Jeanette, then snap that up for sure. Thank you so much again, and just to let everybody else know, if you want to get the original yarn or any of the combinations that have been shown here, we've calculated all the numbers for your sizes and everything, so you can click on through to the link in our bio. This is knit.ie, and then you can find the kits. You can find them on the homepage now as well. We have them there. And if for some reason the color that you want is not available, you can also pre-order, and we will chain her to the dye pots. And we'll have that out to you before you know it. So thank you again. Thank you everybody for watching, and reach out to us if you have any questions at all. We will get back to you, but it's been absolutely lovely talking to you and lovely working with you. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.